So I'm super excited because I have some amazing guests that are going to be joining me on stage here to talk about being voices of some of your favorite characters from My Little Pony. So put your hands together for the amazing Andrea Libman, who plays Pinkie Pie in Fluttershy. Girls are bad girl turns pretty good girl. Rebecca Strike who plays Sunset Cher. So clearly we just invited really good-looking people to be on this panel. So ladies, let me just kick it off. Where did this kind of, you're all voice actors, where did this sort of start for you? We'll kind of go across the table. What was kind of your first gig, and how did you kind of get into this type of acting? So let's just start there.
Super hard. Well, actually, just when I was being mic'd up, so we got our little mics there, back there, it made me remember doing on-camera work, which has been a long time for me, but so that's how I started. When I was really young, I was 6, I started doing movies, like TV shows like The X-Files, and Little Women, and those kinds of things, and started doing voice work pretty quickly after that. My first animated series was called Dino Babies, and I was also the spokesperson for Arby's. And pretty quickly after that, I started doing Madeline. So that was all when I was about like 6 to 10 years old, kind of thing. And then it just kind of kept going, which is amazing. I feel really lucky.
That's great. I did a little bit of on-camera acting too back in the day, but I started when I was working at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's our CBC in Canada, which might be an ABC or NBC in the States. And when I was doing some work in production, the host of the show said, "Oh, you have a really nice voice. Have you ever thought about doing voiceover?" And I said, "Voice what? Voice what?" They said, "Yeah, commercials and cartoons and things." I said, "No, but I can give it a shot." So I tried my luck at it, and I started to get commercials, and I started to get a little bit of cartoon work, just a little bit, and then it just exploded. But I did some on-camera also, and also did a little bit of production on other shows I wasn't working on, so a little casting and directing. So thought it was a hobby, and here we are today. So lucky me.
For me, I started doing musical theater and singing and dancing and acting when I was a kid. I did a lot of local community stuff, and I went away to college for that. And when I was there, I was asked by a couple of the animators. It's actually a pretty famous school for animation, Sheridan College in Canada. And there's a lot of very famous animators that have come out of Sheridan. So it was kind of cool to be sort of alongside program with this incredible program. They needed to do lip syncing exams, I guess. So they one of the guys who I was friends with said, "Hey, will you? A bunch of my friends and I need voices. Will you come into the studio and do some lip syncing?" And it's just like usually one word or a sentence. I think I got to say, "You want some fries with that?" or something like that, and a couple other things. And so that was kind of like a little taste of it. And then when I moved to Vancouver, I started doing dialogue replacement ADR stuff for anime, because I met somebody at a barbecue and said, "I do voices." But I got to audition for the casting director, so I was already a professional singer and actor at that point. You don't just go up to anybody and sing.
I did once. It did work out.
It did work out. That date didn't pan out.
All of you guys kind of spoke to that you've done other kinds of acting on camera acting and musical theater. What's kind of the difference between that kind of work and the work that you do on My Little Pony?
That's such a good question. You just have to rely 100% on your voice, because when we talk to each other, even right now, we're using our bodies, we're using our face, and you don't have any of those things to rely on. So everything has to come through in your voice.
And there's no memorizing, obviously, in voice.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's a big one. That's one thing I don't particularly enjoy. I did it to the extent I had to do it. and it was fine. But when you go up to do any voiceover work, whether it's commercials or cartoon work, you just look at your script while you're performing, and you kind of have to listen to each other for the actions, so you kind of have to visualize the action rather than block it or look at each other. So that's a nice relief. Yeah, I enjoy that.
And it's interesting how being behind the microphone is a lot like musical theater, because it's so over the top in most cases. You've got to often project, or you have to, like Andrea was saying, it's all of the emotion has to come through your voice. So all the characterization, all the emotions, everything is so it's amplified when you do musical theater, and it's amplified when you're behind the microphone. But when you're on camera, it's just like a glance of the eye or something subtle. I usually get told to tone it down. Can you not throw your eyebrows?
I find too with on-camera acting, I'm sure you guys have experienced it too, but you find yourselves in kind of the strangest places in trailers waiting to do your lines, like, you know, it's just the most bizarre thing. So you find yourself out in the boonies in the woods at 4 in the morning, pretending it's daylight, doing a lotto commercial or something, and you're smiling, and this is a strange thing, and it just takes a long time from beginning to the end of that job, whereas we have a nice and tidy 4-hour call for a cartoon, or a quick job, like, 20 minutes to an hour for a commercial, and you're done, and the coffee's flowing.
Follow-up question, how frequently do you do this in your pajamas?
Not enough.
Because if I was doing it, I would 100% just show it every single.
Well, I think auditions nowadays.
These days, we often have to submit from home.
True.
So it could very well be in our pajamas these days.
Right. How has that sort of changed in the time that you guys have been doing just this show? That process of 10 years ago, I'm sure technology has sort of changed that as well.
It has.
Well, like Andrea said, we used to go each time for any of our auditions into the city, or where the studios are, we would go and audition there. But now technology has come into play so much that it's quite common for us to record in our own homes, in our own little home studios. It's not like we tear down the house and build a studio. Some do.
Some people do.
But but we do it at home, and then we sort of send it to our agents who then forward it, and that's very common. Even for some of the big shows, you get shortlisted, and then you go into the studio for the final thing, but it's happening a lot more. It's nice.
I find that I like going to the studio better.
Same.
Because your brain is wrapped around that appointment time, and you go and you've prepared yourself, ready to go, and you also get feedback. Which you don't get when you submit something online and send it out to the ether. And I know that a lot of jobs are like that these days. People who write music send music to somebody wants a job for scoring a film, and they have to send 3 examples of this type of music, and they have to send it out into the ether, and maybe somewhere around the world somebody will listen to it and like it. So it feels a little disconnected, but when you go into a studio, you get a sense of who that character is really supposed to be. A little bit more than a lot more, I should say.
And so you guys have been doing this for a long time and playing these characters on Pony for a long time. What's that vibe like when is it pretty frequent that you're all able to sort of be in the booth together, and are you able to sort of feed off of that energy?
Yeah, big time.
All the time.
Yeah, that's the best part about our job, is being together and being able to interact with one another.
And it's a big happy family.
Yeah.
We know each other like extended family, and it really feels that way. It's very familiar. So, it's like when you come into a new show, you say, oh, Rebecca's there, or Andrew's there. It's like, it's comfortable. It's like, okay, let's just have a cup of coffee.
And what's so nice too is that we know our characters so well now after 10 years that you can just kind of be loose, you know your character, and then you can really listen to, like I can listen how Kathy or Rebecca are going to deliver a line, and then I'm going to react to that kind of spontaneously, because I don't have to think about, oh, what would this character do? Like, it just frees up so much more of the acting world. It's awesome.
And how much opportunity do you guys find to kind of riff? I mean, not that there aren't lines that are written so well that they don't need to be changed at all. But those occasional ones that are not. How much opportunity do you guys kind of feel like you can kind of bring or riff or change, or do you kind of feel like it's where it needs to be, and it's more the nuance in the delivery and less about changing the line itself?
Sometimes my riff is just because I've read the line wrong. Colloquial, I guess.
We did a lot of riffing for the movie, actually. That was sort of unique and it was encouraged, and I think we were a little bit stumped by it. So like, oh, just kind of do what you want and let's see where this goes. And we're like, what? Really?
Because typically in the series, I mean, it's taboo to pretty much go off the script. Unless we're joking around and it works and then we'll keep it. But whatever's written is written and we follow it. But the writers on Pony, kudos to you, Megan, too. They're so good at writing the show and they know our characters so well, so we just trust that they have all those innuendos and nuances. And actually they kind of help to create our characters as we went, because we don't, when we get a script, we're like, oh, Spike's doing that now, or she's saying this now. So our characters develop with every script, and the writers move that along, so yeah.
I just asked this question just to get a lot of praise. So obvious. So when you guys first learned that you were going to voice these characters, what did you think of the character when they presented you with, even just to audition and all that? What was your kind of first reaction to it? And just that it would be My Little Pony, was it something that you guys were familiar with the previous incarnations and you thought, oh wow, this is cool? Or, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I first got it and I thought, okay, awesome. It's a cartoon with like girl roles on it, which is pretty rare for us. A lot of times we go out
Almost all the leads are roles.
or all male leads in other shows, and then there's like the one girl, right? So you're thinking in terms of like work, okay, I'm competing against every other woman in Vancouver for this one girl part. So right away, or two. So right away it's like, oh my gosh, girl parts, this is amazing. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, I just auditioned for the last My Little Pony and got a role on that. I'm like, but now they're changing it again, so I don't know. But then when I opened it up and started seeing all these amazing characters, I thought, wow, this is something so cool, so different. Like the characters are so defined. I don't think I had ever seen that in an audition before, ever. Like, this is exactly the personality that we want for these ponies. I thought, this is so cool. And I think that feeling of excitement too, like, oh, this is something that we know and love already. I grew up with this, you know, I love My Little Pony already, and then you get carried away and it's kind of dangerous because you're like, I don't want to get my hopes up too much. This looks so great and I'm so excited. So
We never know. We do our best with every character we get in any audition, and we all try out for different things as well, and then we land where we land. So it's a bit of a crapshoot in a good way, just we don't know. And, I mean, as far as other generations of My Little Pony, I think there's been 8, has it been, you guys know more than I do, but I was in generation 3 as Rarity, which is the baby pony. She's a little female, little girl. And I believe Andrea was a Breezy, weren't you, Andrea?
yeah, and also Sweetie Belle.
And Sweetie Belle. So, you know, it's a little bit strange that happens, but it really has morphed, as you know, from those days to now. So it's kind of fun to see that.
I auditioned for the main 6 when it first came up, and I was just, there were so many incredible roles. The tricky part was that we knew they were going to be double casting, so you had to pick the perfect 2.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember which exact 2 I auditioned for, but they said, oh, so-and-so's going to be a singing pony, can you audition for her? And so I was able to come at it from a music perspective, but when I was auditioning for Equestrian Girls, I was so nervous because it was already so beautifully established, and I was so excited to get a role when they asked me to do Sunset Shimmer for the Equestrian Girls, and so I thought, oh gosh, I hope people like the idea of humanoid ponies. and B, the audition was maybe 5 lines long, and by the end of it, I was a frothing demon. So, and
It doesn't take long.
I recorded it in my children's bedroom. So you kind of, there's a little bit of a crazy spiral going on there. So I was just like, oh, I hope. And,
Well, I don't think I'm speaking just for myself when I say, nailed it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Exactly, Sunset Shimmer. So, you know, it's been a long time since you kind of originated this role, and you may not remember what that was like, but I think we can cue it up, Andrea. We remember because we found a recording of that. What? Someone hit the button on that?
Where did you find it?
This is Andrew Libin reading for Pinkie Pie. Wait, these aren't tickets to the Grand Galloping Grand Galloping Gala. Oh, don't you just love happy endings?
That's
I'm sorry, Tina.
Awesome.
It's no fun upsetting your friend. And then I said, oatmeal? Are you crazy? Hot sauce tastes best on cupcakes. Oh, wait, you never tried it? Oh, it is so good.
I think it was that little snip. I think that's
in the audience. I just saw someone plugging their ears.
when you hear that now, I mean, you can kind of hear how you've evolved that voice, but when you hear that now,
Oh, it's so different. But I remember it was different right away because I remember being really surprised that they said, oh, we've cast you for these 2 roles. So I remember I got in there and right away we had to change it from that. Because I can hear, I don't know if you guys can hear like a little bit of Fluttershy in there. Like it's like she kind of has more of that soft part. So when I remember when I went in, we sped up Pinkie Pie and she got rid of that kind of softer edge and just more like go, 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 high pitch. And then Fluttershy, just more of those soft tones to kind of separate them a lot more.
I don't suppose to put you on the spot, you can give us an example.
Sure, because I heard her say a signature line, and that's not how it's in the show. It's more
Oatmeal, are you crazy?
like that. It's a lot crazier.
And so, Kathy, you're not off the hook here, because we also found some old-timey footage.
Oh dear.
Of you
What?
In one of the very first sessions that we had for Spike.
Okay, I'm ready.
We can cue that up.
Wow, what a gorgeous day! Rainbow Dash must have gotten up early for once and cleared all the clouds away. I bet all of Ponyville is going to be out enjoying the sunshine. What? Where is every pony? Is it some sort of pony holiday? Not that I know of. Does my breath stink? Not more than usual. Is it zombies?
Not very likely.
Not likely, but possible?
Twilight! Spike! Come here! Come here! Hurry! Hurry before she gets you!
Kinky.
Oh my god! That's so cute!
That's how it happens. That's great. And that was actually Tabitha there, who plays Rarity. So how has your sort of approach to this character changed over the years? Obviously, we heard kind of the audition and how that was involved. Has Spike changed for
Well,
you?
he certainly has from the initial, like the very beginning when I thought about what voice to use for him, because originally I was told he was a baby dragon, so in my mind it was like baby. So I played him a little bit older there, and he sort of held in that, you know, that particular range. But we had to kind of find it for the first little while because, you know, he has up till now, as you can see, grown up a bit, so you can hear that voice change. But
Spike was I was trying to do it like that. I was trying to make him still a boy and stuff like that. That is so cool. Now I don't feel like it.
I didn't know how young baby was, so we kind of started that young. But so that's really closer to where we're at, I think, now. But you could see in that also how we're using our bodies, and I went like this for the breath, you know, to smell the breath, and Andrea was doing some gestures too. And that's really common when we're in the studio to just pretend we are physically the character and in the situation. So,
I can't even remember when that was. Like I don't even remember being filmed.
and that talk is
Is that a
actually
secret camera?
Yeah. It's like hidden. It was probably before phones on your.
Probably.
That's really giant camera. Rebecca, Sunset Shimmer has obviously become a big fan favorite. So why do you think people have responded to her other than her amazing voice work?
Well,
That must be it.
I mean, that's 90%.
honestly, the biggest reaction I get from fans is, or the strongest reaction I get from fans about Sunset Shimmer when they love her, is that she is redeemed. She's redeeming herself. She's coming back from being at her absolute worst self and coming back. And I think that part of her has really drawn people in because she's been broken. In fact, when so with voiceover, we don't know what's going to happen sometimes when we're watching the episode because we forget. It's been about a year and a half or whatever. So when we recorded the first Equestria Girls, I thought that my character died at the end. And so we went down to the LA Film Fest where they were doing the premiere of Equestria Girls, and I was sitting beside Kathy, and I held Kathy's hand and I went, I didn't die. And I couldn't, so I was so surprised. I was so surprised by that. But she was just absolute quivering mess after being the worst demon you could possibly imagine, trying to take over Equestria and everything, and just it was. I think it was that tipping point when when Twilight reaches out her hand and says, "I think we can help you," and that began that journey that made people fall in love with her. I mean, it's a lot of people love villains, but coming back from being a villain is a really hard thing. And in fact, as an actor and the directors and everybody, was maybe even for the writers, it was a hard process to navigate how to find likability in this, and not right away either. There's flies around. Likability in this character who was horrible, absolutely horrible to everybody around her. So it was challenging, but I think that's what it is.
And kudos to the writers for that.
Yeah.
Making it so real, and not sort of making so many of the scenarios what we all go through. And sometimes we aren't our best self, and we're in pain or hurting, and that doesn't get sugar-coated. It's what it is, and I give kudos to them.
Again, just
for
keep it up.
Just all big.
So Sunset Shimmer's character is obviously, for those who've seen Equestria Girls, is actually from Equestria, as it was a pony that came into to the human world. So how do you think that character would react returning to Equestria?
Oh gosh. Well, the last time she was there, she stole a crown, right? And she'd probably feel pretty embarrassed because she's done a lot of changing and a lot of growth. So there'd probably be a lot of embarrassment going on there. But hopefully she gets a chance to.
So we have, for you guys, something very special yet to be released, Equestria Girls short that features our very own Sunset Shimmer. So you guys get the exclusive, never before seen by any other audiences look at this little book here.
You are my Equestria Girls.
My science project is gonna be overdue!
Hey, Jellybean!
Trixie is great. Trixie is
Well, the earmuffs don't work. I'm now hearing everything everyone's thinking without even touching them. Is anyone else experiencing a sudden, surge in their powers today?
So for those who might not be familiar, Sunset Shimmer's character is now sort of an empath, which means that she can hear the thoughts and understand the emotions of those around her. And clearly, something is amiss in this particular short. Is there any advice that you would give to someone out here in the audience who might be looking to have a career as a voice actor?
Well, it starts with acting. So I think a lot of times we hear, hey, I have a really cool voice and I want to get into voice work. And that's awesome. Like, having a cool voice is a great benefit. But I think before that, you kind of need to have some acting skills in place. So I think number one advice is kind of start there, maybe get into your local kind of drama workshop, that kind of thing, and take it from there.
And I would say too, similar to Andrea, to sort of start at that point, because people want to rush out and get the most expensive microphone right away. And probably not a good idea, and you don't really need to do that. So, and the other thing I would say is if there's a local coach, to get someone who's actually working and who's done it for a while, so that they can really give you a good sense, like be honest with you about what personas or characters that actually you do well or could develop. Because a lot of times we think we can do all these different characters, and we're committed and we love doing that character so much that we're going to be the villain come heck or high waters, and we just may not have the sound for it. So it's really important to be honest about as you go along, and it takes a little time to sort of commit to that and work on those things and get some advice from a professional down the road.
Yeah, definitely training. Like if you have the ability when you're out of, like I went to college for musical theater. That was a huge learning experience for me. The learning curve was really fast there, and because I got intense programs in all different forms of the arts, and I think that you learn your own body, and you learn so many skills that you can take into the studio with you, that you can fine tune as you go. But I even took a course with Kathy for voice acting. Yeah, I did. I like
Yeah.
my
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my old brushes from so far back, they're crumbling now, and I'm going to see who of the actors you know actually took the class.
She's
And
got
it's right
I'll get the permission.
So obviously, Pony has been a big success, a global phenomenon. Did you have any idea when you first, auditioned and took this role, the journey that you were gonna be on with this?
No, impossible. Not at all. Impossible.
Yeah.
Really? Because I totally did. Finger on the pulse.
It was something new, though. It was new and it was special, and I was really mad I didn't get one of those May 6 roles. I was like,
Well, and because My Little Pony had so many versions before this one, right? I mean, Andrea's been on the others too, and so it's not that it's here comes another audition, it's another whatever. But in a way, you get into that because you're working. We work pretty full time, and we audition full time, and so it's another commitment. And so, okay, here's the next one, and here's we focus on it. So we don't think about that, especially if we've done. Oh, great! Now we're doing this season. Oh, that's interesting. Pony's still going, and we continue, but we don't have any. We focus on what we're working on, and it can become a big success or not.
because that's the only thing we have control over is doing our work. So,
Right.
Yeah.
so you have to learn how to let go of the stuff that you don't get. Oh, I can't.
I would say they've done a pretty good job, right? So, like I said, it is a global phenomenon. These gals obviously voice the characters in the English version, but we have kind of a fun clip that shows what it looks like around the world in different languages. So awesome. It's kind of fun. Obviously, they're the best ones. But it's kind of fun just to hear how people
How many countries? Did you know?
Oh my gosh, we're in 150 plus territories, and I'm not sure how many different languages that equals, but it's a lot. But you guys set the stage because it's your embodiment of these characters that then informs what anybody else does anywhere else. So kudos to these ladies for just being the phenomenal talents that they are, and everybody who watches the show is just blessed that you guys are the ones that came in and auditioned, because it wouldn't be what it is today without you. So, but yeah, let's see a fun little clip here.
Let's all work together to make this castle shine. Llevanilo tosta, same sen, same sen, same sen, same rema.
Well, all I heard was Twilight Sparkles.
Twilight Sparkles.
I don't know what language that was.
It was so good.
So I think I have an opportunity now to open it up for some questions from the audience. So if you've got a question for these ladies, then raise your hand, and I believe someone will bring you a microphone so you can ask.
So test. All right. My first question to you, Pinkie Pie, you, Spike, you, Sunset Shimmer, love you, and you, Megan McCarthy, is when you go into these episodes that haven't aired yet, what's the first thing you think? Do you think, like, first is it gonna be like, is this episode gonna be adventure? Is this episode gonna be about food? Is this episode gonna be about parties? Is this episode gonna be about blank? What's the first thing on your mind when the unaired episode is told by your boss, Megan here? Go.
So I think, like, when you first get the script, I guess, kind of, what's your first reaction? What's the first thing that you kind of have to think about as you look at it, perhaps? Might be a way to phrase that.
Well, is it going to be fun?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's actually, I bet this is going to be fun, because I love being in the room with these guys.
I think for myself, because Spike is always getting himself into stuff, I always wonder, is this another one of those? Is it like, what's he going to do now? Is he going to, so I'm always wondering, what kind of little things can happen? So.
Here's what I'm always wondering. Is there anything weird in this episode? Is there anything, like, is Pinkie Pie gonna have, like, a weird accent? Or is she gonna, like, is there anything that's gonna require, like, research from me? So that's kind of what I look for. I'm like, what's going down?
And then if you saw my name on the page, then you just knew that
clear
was...
my schedule, like, it's gonna be crazy. But other than that, I just kind of read it and get a sense of it, but I like to keep it really loose. Like, I don't practice or anything, because I want to hear what these ladies are going to do in the room so I can react and we can keep it kind of really fun and spontaneous. So.
You don't want to think it too much.
No.
Just, over it.
Yeah. Unless there's something weird.
Sometimes I'll read out loud if there's a really long paragraph.
Yeah.
Just so I don't mess up the room, which I always do, but then there's always room for fixing the mistakes.
Of course.
It's natural.
Hi. I have a question about Pinkie Pie. How does she talk so fast?
I don't know how she talks so fast. Do you know how she talks so fast? I don't know how she talks so fast. She just does it. You know, sometimes Pinkie Pie says her lines and then they have to say, okay, we understood nothing. Can you slow it down? And then I sometimes have to slow it down.
Okay.
We're in awe too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. She's very talented, that's why.
Thank you.
Good question. There in the back of the yellow shirt.
I think she's got a microphone.
There's one over here.
Or in the front here. Either one of these. Oh, we got one over there. Oh, there's one with the microphone. Yes.
How do you have conversations with yourself?
Question for Andrea.
So when we first started, it was pretty tricky, and we would go through, and Pinkie Pie would do her lines, and then Fluttershy after. But then it's just kind of like anything that you learn to do. The more you do something, the more you practice, the easier it is.
So nowadays, Pinkie Pie just talks and says, "How's it going, Fluttershy?" I'm good, Pinkie Pie. I'm kind
That's why she really starts to rebel.
I like that. Yeah, I know. She's really evolved as a character.
Yes, ways.
Put her foot down.
This might sound like a weird question, and I don't know if you've had this one before, but including today, roughly how many cons have you been to?
437. No, I'm just kidding. A kajillion. I have no idea. But they're always fun. And just so you know, just so everyone knows, I always say this, but you can always feel free to ask a question that if you have a question and you want to know the answer, but you think someone has already asked it to us, we don't mind.
Yeah, we don't.
We're here for you. We're here to answer your questions.
We're actors, we love to talk.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Somebody asked me that the last convention I went to, and I think I kind of in the ballpark. And then of course one of my assistants knew all of our numbers, so I know that it's 21.
Wow.
So, wow. A testament to an amazing family.
I think I'm somewhere between 10 or I'm around 10. I think 10 to 15. I don't know.
I'm like a kajillion.
Does anybody have a microphone yet? Because I see this someone in the back with a yellow shirt. Is no happening in front of me.
We've been waiting so long.
She's even standing up. We got one here. Hi.
Oh, can we? You know what? Can we let her go and then we'll go for you next? So this one, like right here, and then we'll go for you.
Okay. I'm asking for such a shimmer. What is she?
Take a deep breath.
What would she be like when she goes back to the pony rail? What will she?
First of all, I hope she's not mean to anybody, but I don't think she will be. And I hope that she's able to connect with the main six because she doesn't really know the ponies in Ponyville who are Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy. Her equestrian girlfriends are different people, but they still have the same personalities. So I would hope that they would all invite her to be friends too. I think they would. What do you think?
Yeah.
They're pretty friendly.
They are friendly.
Okay, now this microphone over here. Yeah.
Hi everyone. Sorry for my broken English. Sorry.
No, it sounds great, bro. We love it.
Thank you, Spike. Second question to Megan. Who will be next Alicorn? Starlight or Sunset, according to
Who
you?
will be the next Alicorn? Man,
That's a good question.
that I get asked a lot.
One and the two.
Obviously, it's going to be Pinkie Pie.
It's probably really dependent on who gives me the best presents.
Once again.
Like says the nicest things about you. Yes, you know, that's how I'm gonna
You're
date
so
that. No, yet to be determined if and when and how that will happen. But good question. I can't technically answer it.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Some more questions?
Alright, hello, my name's Harrison. Question for Andrea Lipman. Do you see Pinkie Pie opening her own party business down the road? She's always about the parties.
Absolutely. And sounds like you are too, so maybe you should go into business with her.
Or another cheese sandwich cameo?
There you go. Good idea. Yeah, she should have.
I think so too. Definitely.
Just write that down. You're gonna need to sign something.
Field trap.
It's a little twin. All right, it's Twilight Sparkle. Oh, Twilight.
That's Spike.
Yeah, what's going on, Twilight? It's nice to see you here.
I don't have to do Spike's burps.
Spike's burps? Did you ask her to do Spike's burps?
Do you want to hear my burps?
Yes.
Like, seriously? Like, okay, wait. Do you mean like burps after I have to make gemstones? Or do you like mean burps when I'm getting a message from like Princess Celestia?
Very
Or
different.
both. Or both. How about I do both? You want me to do both?
I don't know what you have for lunch, Kath.
Oh.
Okay, both.
It's hard to.
Well, it depends if the gemstones are tiny or big or if I eat fast. So, That's a little guy. It's like a frog burp. And then of course,
True talent.
Yes. That's why they're up there. They can do stuff like that on cue. Like it's
But I did do a crow. They hired me to do a crow in a show once, just the sound of the crow.
Wow, cool.
That's good. That's pretty good. I think that's it for questions, right? We have to wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for coming. Hopefully you learned a lot about what we talked about. And shout out to all of you guys for supporting the show and being such good fans. You guys are the reason that we're sitting up here today. So thank you so much for coming to Hascon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.